Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, July 22nd, a little bit after 5:15 p.m. We're at City Hall, and with the quorum of members present, I'll be calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. And we'll have we got a few finance-only agenda items, and then we will have one joint item with the Economic Development Committee with the potential of going into closed session. But we'll get through these finance items first and then move on to our joint session. So item number 1, a discussion and possible action regarding the 2025 budget modification for lead service line transfer for 2024 project. And we talked about this recently at the last finance meeting if this budget modification, if we wanted that to be debt financed or if we wanted to take it out of, I think it was the general fund or reserves, out of reserves, so.
Yep, and really that's what this resolution,
Thank you for joining. We'll let the people in the meeting know that you're here.
That's what this resolution authorizes, is it would transfer $150,000 from the general fund to the capital projects fund to fund that one-time shortfall. And if you recall, that is related to the 2024 lead service line replacement that we did for homeowners, where the negotiations with the state were protracted or prolonged. And by the time we got to closing, they had specified that there was some expenses that they would not consider eligible. And so they would not fund it either through the Safe Drinking Water Loan or our grants. So we had to find another financing mechanism because it can't be water utility because it is related to the customer's side of that lead service line replacement. So this accomplishes finding a funding source for that.
All right, so any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to
Okay.
for the budget mod.
Motion from Henke, a second. Second from Kisselman. Any further discussion on this? I'm not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. Item number 2, discussion and possible action regarding 2025 general obligation promissory note for capital improvements. And this is our bond purchase for the 2025 budget. It's that time we set the budget back in October for the coming year, and then we actually the financing, the debt financing, does not happen until later into the summer months. So we have Phil Costins here from Ellers to answer any questions, give us an update, and I guess we'll just.
And really the big change here, well, 2 big changes. One was, if you recall, at the last meeting, we talked about this $150,000 of lead service line. And then I also mentioned that we would be able to take some of the projects that were related to the Jefferson, or to TID3, out of the borrowing, and we would be able to fund it with cash that was on hand from the TID district. So this revised list now has that about $1 million removed from it, and that worked out really well because, for example, the Jefferson parking ramp, anytime you do financing for parking ramps, you have to be concerned of whether it should be a taxable issue or a tax exempt. So taking that out of the borrowing and funding it with cash eliminated that entire question. And then the financing, as far as amortization of these, didn't change. As far as the number of years, those projects that are being funded by TID 3 would be over a 6-year period, and TID 8 over a 9-year period, and then all of the others over 10 years. So the other, I guess, concept that we're introducing tonight is what the amortization should look like for the city side, those that are funded with levy dollars, and we've provided 2 options. Option 1 would just kind of follow our typical retirement schedule. And I said in my memo that would increase the levy about 675,000. And this issue isn't the only cause of that increase. Obviously, we did the lead service line. We closed on that issue in June of this year, so we have to retire that debt. We had in 25's capital plans for streets, Randolph and, Cherry.
Cherry Street.
Were much more expensive streets to do than our typical, so we've got some added capital costs there as well as borrowing. And then we added the motor pool, so that's about the 600,000 that it's going to go up. Option 2, we kind of looked at further out into the future and looked at what the implications of TID 6 closing. So TID 6 is closing, you authorize closing of that. And so when we go to set up our 26 budget, we will need to levy $1.6 million, about $1.6 million less in our TID districts. That's just the city's share of that TID. And so we'll see a drop in the overall levy because of that. But if you recall, when we were talking about budget during 2025, we said we had the SAFER grant and we had the ARPA expenses that would most likely carry us through the 26 budget, but we were going to have to do a referendum to finance those, and that referendum question and the timing of that is going to be a big part of the budget discussions this fall. And so the levy then in 27 would go back up, and when we look at how much it will cost to fund those firefighters and the community outreach specialists and perhaps those grant-funded police officers, that's a $1.7 million increase. So we were trying to think of, well, could we or should we smooth out our levy during that 26-27 period so that residents don't see a big up or a big down and then a big up. And one way to accomplish that, or, you have very limited abilities to plan for your levy because of the levy limit laws, but debt, you're allowed some flexibility. So with debt, whatever you have to pay in a given year, you're allowed to levy. So we could structure our debt so that we have a higher debt payment in 26, which would then, number one, reduce our interest overall, and number two, it would smooth out our levy changes due to those positions coming in. I realize that's kind of a complicated process, but I felt like we should at least talk about it. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, obviously then you would pick option 1. And I don't know if Phil has anything to add about all of those discussions.
Phil, if you
Well,
could.
thank you, Mary Ann. Yeah, a couple of things really quick, and I think you hit on the key items. One thing that comes up on a regular basis is we have these different revenue sources to pay back the debt, including TID 3, TID 8, and general fund, et cetera. It's all going to be one debt issue.
Right.
And then we're going to have separate amortization schedules. I don't know, does it help to share my screen, Mary Ann?
Sure, you can, because it was part of your
Okay.
presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody can kind of see, and let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can.
You're good.
Okay, great. So, the first part of our pre-sale report is really more the verbiage around issuing debt, the purposes behind the authority to be able to do so, and some of the kind of more technical issues as it pertains to issuing debt, like is it bank qualified, rating. A lot of that isn't necessarily, it's kind of baked into a debt issue, but it's not really a decision point. It's just kind of how it plays out. But what I really want to focus on is that I just referenced The projects that we're looking to fund are shown on the screen here. And as Marianne alluded to, we did have in here the parking ramp, public parking. Those got removed from this issue. So we're at 14.7 million in project costs. The dollar amount is greater than that, obviously. But just to highlight what she had referenced, if you look at the tip, this would hold true for both options. We have one debt issue with multiple purposes behind it. Again, 6-year payback for TID 3, 8-year payback for TID 8, and then the normal 10-year process that we see for the city component. But what Marianne was really referencing is the impact of doing these capital borrowings on the levy. So the second option is what I'm showing you here. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but if you can see here, the total net debt service levy. So what gets levied on the general taxes, and the general levy in 25 was about 4.6 million. That would bump up to 5.8 million to smooth out, as Marianne indicated, the impact of the TID 6 closure. That saves you a little over 200,000 in interest over the term of this issue by pushing more principal into that first year and providing, again, a more level overall tax rate for the city. We're not showing the overall tax rate here. We're showing the debt service levy here. Going back to the option, the first option that she referenced. Sorry, I'm jumping around again. You'll see in here that we have that roughly 675,000 that Marianne referenced earlier as well. In this case, our estimate is going to be around $680,000 increase if we just issue debt as you normally have in the past. But again, this then would, as Marianne alluded to, create that roller coaster effect where TID 6 is going to drop the overall levy, not just the debt levy. And then we'll see a bump up again in 27 as a result of the new debt and the TID 6 coming offline. So those are the options available, but it's one issue. We would be selling this on a parameters basis as we have done the last couple of years. We do have a timeline in here for what we are thinking about. Again, tonight is hopefully a decision point if you want the first option for level principal and interest versus the second option where we're pushing more principal into the first year. And then that'll be reviewed by the Common Council on August 12th. We'll have a rating call with Moody's Investor Service. We'll take bids on these notes on September 3rd, and we're proposing a closing date, meaning when the funds would be wired to the city on September 18th. But for tonight, really what we're trying to get to is this issue of whether or not you want to see a greater, more significant principal payment in 2026 to eliminate that roller coaster. And in doing so, you will save about 200,000 in interest costs over the life of this issue.
And I think the final, point is the impact to our general obligation outstanding debt. So in my memo, I show that at the end of 24, we had 69,209,779 of general obligation debt outstanding. Our 25 payments for principal are 9.6 million. And then if we add these new issues, which, again, we have to add that safe drinking water for the lead service line because that's general obligation debt. It's not a revenue bond. And then this proposed 2025 issue, and while our construction expenses are the 14,767,000. There's debt issuance costs that add to it, so the total expected cost of the issue, or the total expected issue is the 14,960,000. So that would bring our GO up to 76,682,000. Again, recognizing that we have projects because they were in the budget are already underway. Obviously, our construction projects are, have been underway for several months now, so it's late to make any changes there. But just and that we're retiring some of those components of the issue quickly to coincide with either the closure of the TID or its financial capacity.
So, committee, are there any questions on this? Alder Tierney?
Thank you. Now, Marianne, if this goes to TID 3, what have you, these have to be paid off at some point too.
Yes, they get
So-
paid off each year with that increment that comes in from that district.
Okay, so when these close,
Yep.
aren't we going to have the same problem again? Every time a TID closes?
Well, really, this isn't a problem, it's a benefit, right? Like when TID 6 closes, our levy drops $1.6 million. That's a good thing.
Right.
But again, in this situation, because we had sufficient grants for the 12 firefighters, the one community resource person, and the 2 firefighters, that's really what our problem is. And we're just trying to smooth out the levy by almost artificially increasing our debt levy requirement in 26 to kind of smooth that out. So in a typical situation, we don't have this problem. It's those unfunded positions that really are creating this problem. And so again, if it feels like the wrong thing to do, then we just stick with option 1, and the levy will go down. You'll have a referendum to ask the taxpayers whether they want to fund those positions. We will have to tell them the actual cost of that levy, regardless, because the statutes dictate how we explain that referendum question. And if the taxpayers authorize that referendum, they will see their taxes go down for the 2026 budget and then hop back up for the 27 budget, but they will have authorized that.
Right. I guess knowing, the taxpayers knowing where this money is coming from and where it's going, I think is a good thing because they're paying for
Yes,
it.
Exactly. I agree with you completely.
So I have no problem with a referendum on that. Actually, I think it's a good idea. But thank you.
Yeah. And we would be required to, because there's no way we'll be able to fund those positions without that referendum because of the levy limits. Because really, the levy limits are in place for our, what we need to levy, which now we won't have those grants, so we'll have to levy for it. And they're not debt, they're operations. So there's really no alternate option for us but to do that referendum.
So we would need a referendum with either option 1 or option
Yes,
2.
absolutely.
So the referendum is probably, that's going to be a coming item either way.
Yes.
The benefit of option 2 is that instead of having that big drop in your levy, we pay off a little more principal
Yep.
to kind of give that feeling of consistency from year to year.
Exactly, and you save a little bit of
Yeah.
interest
Yeah.
expense. But I don't think there's a right or wrong. This is one of those things where it's just what you choose.
Yeah. Alder McElhaney?
My question is, I'm trying to formulate it so it makes sense, but if we didn't, okay, so we're closing TID 3, right? Six. Okay, so
Six.
we're closing TID 6, and instead of, let's say we pick option 1,
Yep.
then the 1.5 million is what we're expecting from the closure, right?
Yep, about 1.5, 1.6, yep.
Something like that. That, if that doesn't go to principal, that goes into the levy, right? The general?
So it would just drop off of our budget. The state, when it calculates the levy limits, it says, oh, you closed a TID district, and there's a formula that it goes through. So typically, our levy limit is based on net new construction, right, Phil?
That's correct.
And then when you close a TID, you get a one-time, I guess, bump in your
Correct.
levy limit base for that TID closer, but it's not the whole amount. It will be about $600,000. So that's why you see we haven't used the whole 1.6 because we will likely be faced with using that 600,000 that the state gives us for the closure of that district for operations, because we have, every year we experience cost of living increases in health insurance, other financial commitments that we have to meet. And so when we look at our budget, and looking around the state, I think a lot of communities and government entities are experiencing the same thing this year. There's not a lot of new revenues to finance your 2026 budget, and expenses are going up because of just general inflation. So that 600,000 will be part of that operating bump that we get.
And,
Yeah, and I would add to, I'm sorry.
and if we use option 2, the 600,000, is that what we were going to use for principal?
It would be, well, is it show on your schedule how much of it is principal and how much is interest, Phil? No.
I can look real quick.
Look like, in looking at those two amortizations, the difference was close to 600,000.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
again, we weren't using the full 1.6. If we use 600,000 for operations and then a $600,000 increase here, we weren't using the whole 1.6 million, but we were using, a portion of it. So there would be some, I guess, overall savings. You hate to use the word savings because you're going to increase the operating levy. So in the buckets.
It ends up being about 500,000
Yeah.
of principal.
Yep.
A little more than that, but around 500,000.
Any other questions? I know this is a complex subject. I know
Yeah.
if we go, this still has to go to council. If we go one direction tonight, can it be changed, at council, or or is that something that we really don't want to do?
I think if you wanted to present this as a separate item to council, we would then modify our sales schedule a little bit, right, Phil? And we would
We would
likely-
modify we would modify the pre-sale report. The resolutions would be focused really on the the option that you chose, because we're going to do parameters resolutions. We need to kind of lay out kind of how the deal is going to look as part of that. So it'll be embedded into the resolution, which option you choose.
Okay. So we really do need to make the decision this evening.
Right, or if you wanted council to be able to make that decision, you would then schedule like a separate resolution maybe to council for August 12th, and then we would take the full parameters resolution to council the first meeting in September. So we would delay the sale
delay it one,
a month about,
Yeah.
give or take. Because since you only have one meeting a month for council in August. My other, it's, this time of year, the state, now we're running on the 25 lead service line project as well. And I know Eric has just been having communications with the state of when they'll close on that 25, because we're shouldering the burden of that construction, those costs now, while we're waiting for that loan to close as well. And really, so when we look at that, from a cash flow standpoint, I'm trying to keep an eye on, okay, how much cash do we have? Because we've got these more expensive than usual projects. What is available in cash? So we don't want to delay the sale too much longer.
no.
But I think, and we could have a special meeting in August if council was open to that, have that second meeting in August.
Alder Henke?
Yeah, thanks. So option 2 basically saves 200,000 in interest, give or take.
Yeah.
And doesn't lower the levy this year, but
By as much.
by as much. Okay. I feel comfortable going forward with option 2.
And again, when we say lower it, it's compared to
Option one.
just looking at TID 6 savings.
Yeah.
Because we'll have, unless a miracle happens and we really can cut our budgets, most likely the levy will go up because of cost of living and things like that.
So
I just want people to say,
I'd make
I
a
thought the
mo-
levy was going to go down.
I'd make a motion to go forward with the obligation promissory notes for capital improvements using option 2.
Okay, is there a second? Alder Tierney seconds it. Any discussion on that? I think that that's probably the right choice. I feel like that's a good choice to make, because it does, year to year, it smooths things out. And I feel like if we have this big drop and then we come in with these other budgetary items that create this big rise again, it's going to be more of an uphill battle than if we kind of keep our rate sort of at a smooth, even level. And the money saving on the back end is nice. So, although not that much in the grand scheme of things. Any other discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. And this will be at council on, I guess it would be August 12th. August 12th. So, okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Our next item number 3, discussion and possible action regarding 2025 budget modifications for parking lot construction. And we've got Andrew Lynch here. Talk
Hi.
about that. See if I can.
Right, so in 2020, the city entered into a development agreement with the Woodchucks organization, also amended in 2022. Part of that agreement, a key element of that was improvement to athletic park in several ways, and important part of that also was an improvement of the parking facilities around athletic park. And what we have before you is kind of like the real start of that. And in that First Amendment agreement, it was specifically called out the lot at Boileau Field, which is on the north side of that field. It's currently a gravel lot. Usually the baseball players park there, hence we've kind of called it the players' lot. But it's specifically called out for us to go ahead and improve that lot, pave it, make it a permanent facility. And also we've had the opportunity, unfortunate event for a house fire that on 508 East Wausau Avenue kind of totaled the house, but the owner worked with our Parks Department to donate the land for the construction of an ADA parking lot, and for that purpose only. So in your packet, I've included a map there that shows those two lots I mentioned in the orange. Obviously, the players lot at Boileau Fields to the north there, and the ADA lot is just to the east of the field. So we included the cost estimates for that. And really, this is a chance for us to stay on schedule with completing our requirements for the development agreement. And the lots are ready to bid and get constructed this year. We also did include the cost estimate for what we're calling the large lot, which is on the map over near the river on the Wausau Chemical Facility. That's not part of this decision tonight. That's something that will work into the 2026 budget process. So if there's any questions.
Any questions? And these would be, it's according to the resolution, this would be funded out of TID3.
Yes.
Hear any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the budget modification for the parking lot construction for those two lots.
Motion from Henke, second. Second from Tierney. Discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. Thanks. Item number 4, discussion and possible action regarding authorizing the acceptance of Housing Counseling Capacity Building Grant through Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, otherwise WHEDA. We've got Tammy Stretz here to walk us through that.
Thank you. In your packet, there is a copy of the application that we submitted and a memo that talked about this opportunity we received. Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority reached out to us because we are a HUD approved housing counseling agency. We qualify for capacity building funds to help with our capacity. And as our memo mentioned, having this certification is a wonderful thing, but it's also very taxing. We have one certified housing counselor, and we're getting referrals from all over within a 100-mile radius because there's no other agency around us that provides that services. So these funds could actually provide an opportunity to reach out to some of our partners, our nonprofit partners, to see if they would be willing to become certified themselves, not as an agency, but as a counselor, and then they could fall under the umbrella of us. We could help, the funding could help with the training, the certification, and their staff time, helping with the computer system that we have to report with, and it is a 2-year grant. So it, in addition, we've walked, the Hmong American Center is interested, which is awesome for us because we'll have translation services. We're hoping to get a Hispanic counselor, still working on that one. So this opportunity could get us to be doing additional services that we can't do right now.
Any questions for Tammy? I know we've been working with this grant for quite some time, haven't we?
This is a new grant.
Oh, this is a new grant.
This is through WHEDA
Okay.
for housing counseling. The other capacity building was for the lead-based paint
Oh, okay,
capacity.
okay.
Yeah, confusing, I know.
Yeah, but, we talk about affordable housing, and I think, one of the components of affordable housing is able to get, qualify for an affordable mortgage, and
There's a lot of mortgage products that require housing counseling, and the issue again is we are the only agency within a 100-mile radius, so we're getting referrals from all over. And yes, we get paid for it, which is good because we can't do it if we can't get paid
Yeah.
for it. But we can't do it all. And Shannon's one person. And so the capacity building grant gives us the opportunity to, again, reach out to partners, get them certified, and have them help us do what needs to be done.
that's, and it's reaching out with other community groups, with nonprofits, I think is definitely the way we need to go. So if I don't hear any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to accept the housing and counseling capacity building grant.
Motion from Henke, second. Second from Tierney. Any discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries.
Thank you.
And then next item is discussion and possible action regarding authorizing the, was it authorizating? That word, that's not a correct word, is it? Authorizing the continuous acceptance of the Wisconsin Lead Safe Homes Programs, LSHP, funds through the State of Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
This is another program that we have been receiving funding since 2019. We came and received authorization to put in for our very first grant application back then, and then I believe we came in a couple of years later to expand our abilities to go out into the county and receive additional funds. They keep sending us more money, and don't complain, but every year they keep sending us more and more money. So I thought it's probably best to make this official and say that, yes, we would like to continue to receive these funds. To date, we are able to assist with 22 housing units to abate lead-based paint, so that's incredible. We have 4 in the pipeline. We've already used up all of our funds for this year, so we've heard that we've been approved, we just don't know how much money we'll get in this next cycle. But if it works like last year or the year before, they just keep sending us more money, so we'd like to be able to continue to accept it.
All right. Any discussion? Yeah, another really good program, and I'm glad that it's having a positive impact. So I'll entertain a motion. Motion from Tierney, second. Second from McElhaney. Discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. And then that brings us to the end of our finance-only items. We'll let the Economic Development Committee join us, and then I'll have the chair can call that committee to order. You can stay there, or you can come up here, or whatever. Tickles your fancy.
Okay, then I will call the July 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Economic Development Committee to order with a quorum present.
Okay. And we have one item on the agenda, discussion and possible action for purchasing property at 201 North First Avenue and 901 and 1021 Cherry Street in the city of Wausau. And this is agendized also for closed session. But if there anything that we wish to discuss in open before we adjourn to closed session? Not hearing anything. We can start with the finance side of thing. If anybody wants to make a motion for Finance Committee to go into closed session. Alder Henke?
I move we go into closed session pursuant to Chapter 19.85, Sub 1, Sub E of Wisconsin statutes for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. In regards to purposes of purchasing properties at 201 North First Avenue and 901 and 1021 Cherry Street in the city of Wausau.
And second? Second from Tierney. This requires a roll call vote. For finance members, let's see. McElhaney? Henke?
Aye.
Tierney? And I vote aye as well. We will go into closed session.
Okay, and then the same, and we don't need to reread it, right? I'm looking for a motion to move into closed session for the Economic Development Committee.
Ditto.
Motion. Okay, motion by Henke and second by Tierney. Okay. The same thing, roll call vote. Tierney? Henke?
Aye.
McElhaney's not. Okay. Killian, sorry. And I. So that motion passes. We will move into closed session.
Okay, and then if we have any business to bring forward into open session, we will reconvene here and do that. Otherwise, we will adjourn and closed.
And one thing quick, do I need, well, never mind. You already made clear that we're the purpose of it. Okay, thank you.